everyone, so for today's video I am doing my GCSE experience video. This has been long awaited and very highly requested, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to film this video, if I wanted to make it into like a mini series or just one video, and I think I'm just going to do it in this one video today. So how this is going to work is I'm just going to talk you through each of my subjects, how I kind of found them as general, and then also a little bit about the exams. I will leave below one of these that I filmed last year, which was when I was in year 10. So if you are a year 10 going to year 11, if you want to check that out, you can. And also if you want to see how my opinions on things have changed and stuff, then you can check that out as well. But without further ado, I'm just going to talk you through my whole 2 years of GCSE. Okay, so for most exams I was on AQA, except for maths and history, which were EdXL, and for media, which was WJEC, which is the Welsh board. But yeah, so I took obviously maths, English, I did combined science, the higher tier. I then took religious studies, or whatever you want to call it, French, geography, history and media. And media was the only exam I took that was on the old spec still. So that one I'll get a grade in like A star to C, whatever, but the rest are obviously going to be 9 to 1. So I'm going to start by talking about the subjects that I chose to take. So we had to take a humanity and a language, and then we got 2 free options. So I took geography and history, and one question I got asked a lot was what was the workload like taking both. And it was quite heavy because they kind of chose to set work at the same time, as most people would only take one humanity, but there was kind of like a minority of us who decided to take both. So the workload for us was quite heavy. There was always a lot more work set from history than there was geography, because I guess with the geography we actually got a lot covered in the lessons, and any work that we were kind of set outside was either exam questions or a revision booklet, and that was quite easy. It was like a weekly thing. It wasn't masses. I had a lot of revision and resources already made, so it was kind of just like refreshing my memory, whereas history was a lot of answering questions and actually learning the stuff from the textbook ourselves because we didn't have time. Out of the two, I did prefer geography. I found it easier, I guess. Like it wasn't one that I found history a lot harder to learn all the information that there is, because there are so many dates and people and events and stuff like that. And also with geography I kind of just clicked with it better. I kind of just enjoyed what we were learning a lot more. With history you had 4 topics, and with geography I think it kind of worked out like 6-ish, 3 for each of the 2 main papers, and then there was obviously a third paper. But yeah, I kind of just preferred geography over history. I just enjoyed learning the stuff more. We had a really fun class, so it was always enjoyable, the lessons. I found that it was very much teacher-led. There wasn't a lot of independent work, whereas history was very independent. It was kind of like, here's the textbook, here's the questions, find the information and copy it and answer them. I would say like it's fine if you want to do that, but there are times when it's better almost to be taught something. And I think it's just because they were running out of time really to teach everything. So if you are worried about taking both, do speak to the teachers and ask like what the workload is like, because I was told it wasn't going to be masses, and that is true in some sectors, but the history workload was a lot more than the geography, which obviously meant that I had to kind of just be put on the side just for a little bit so I could catch up on all this history stuff. And yeah, it was a little bit more than they had originally said. But I got asked, would you take it again? And I probably would, because there wasn't really many other options that I wanted to take. So in terms of the exams, for geography I really liked paper 2, which was the human paper. Paper 3 was really good as well. I just wasn't aware like how many questions we were going to get in section A. We'd never done like a full paper before, so it was a little bit of a shock. And then paper 1 was probably my least favourite, because I just didn't like the topics really on there, and it was a long paper, like really pushed you for time. And then history, paper 1, which was crime punishment, did not like that at all. I just hated crime punishment the whole way through it, so that's probably why I didn't like the paper. Paper 2 was Elizabeth and Cold War. That was probably my favourite paper. It was just everything I had revised and everything I planned answers for kind of came up. Like even they weren't the same questions, but they were very similar things that came up. Also in the Cold War paper, it was very recent stuff we had learned, so it was very fresh in my mind what it was and stuff like that. And the Elizabeth stuff was good, even though I didn't really enjoy like Elizabeth as a whole. Like the paper was fine, it was some good stuff to talk about. And then paper 3 was Nazi Germany. That was alright. I was just a bit disappointed in what they chose to put the paper on because there was so many things they could have chosen. Hitler, I didn't write his name once, and also the fire alarm went off during that exam, so towards the end I was a little bit put off. I was on my 20 marker, next thing you know there's things like ringing in our ears, and yeah, it was a bit of a shock, but it was alright. Like, it could have been something a little bit more interesting, because I just feel like I was repeating myself a lot, but it's done now. Out of the two, I did prefer the geography exams to the history exams. So the next subject that I took was media. This was the only one that was on the old spec, and 60% of it was coursework. So for me that was perfect because it meant when we came to doing it there was only one exam, and a lot of it was kind of more like coursework based, but it was done in class, so having to juggle that with 2 humanities was fine. So in year 10 all we did was film posters and music videos, and both of those meant that we had to write essays on them, which were 20 marks each for the coursework, and that was fine. Like, I enjoyed it, it was good. And then in year 10 we had a whole kind of change, so we got 2 new teachers as our teacher left, and then we started doing the advertising section, and that was fine as well. We created an advert, I really enjoyed that. I mean, creating an advert was stressful, and also it didn't turn out how I wanted it to. Like, at the end of it I was just like, I wasn't very happy with it, but it was too late. On my coursework I think I dropped 9 marks in total. Did the exam, there was only one exam, and it was all on news, and it was really enjoyable. It was quite theory based, which I really liked. Like, I liked learning about people's theories, all the key words. I have a wad of flashcards, and I mean there are probably like 80 flashcards there. It is ridiculous. I've kept them as I am taking media next year. In terms of the exam, I found it alright. Like, there were questions in there that I did think, this is interesting. It was quite different to the mocks we'd done because you either get 4.6 or 2.8. If you do media on the Welsh board, you'll know what I mean. And every mock we had done, we had 4.6. And then we get to the exam hall and they give us 2.8. And then for the website section, we'd always done it where come up with a name, why you've chosen that name. And this was like, write down 5 headlines and why is this your main story? Like, it was quite different to what we'd done before. My final option was French because I had done Spanish in year 7, and then year 8 and 9 I did French and Spanish. So I'd only done French for 2 years, and then I decided I would do it for GCSE just because I purely enjoyed it more than Spanish. I found it easier to grasp, and I really liked it. We had a class of about 20, so it was really nice. There was only one French class as well, so we were quite like a tight group. But yeah, French was fine. I mean, I didn't like the exams. Like, the exams weren't my friend. The speaking one was alright because every time you did it you went in with your general conversation kind of prepared, so you kind of felt a little bit better about yourself. The listening exam I absolutely hated. I just never liked those listening exams. I just didn't like it. But the reading exam was quite good, and I really liked the writing exam. Like, the topics was good, but we will see. Like, French probably wasn't ever my strongest subject. I'm now going to talk about the core subjects. For our school, they were maths, English, science and RE. That was kind of like compulsory. RE, I kind of enjoyed it. I liked the second paper a lot more, which was obviously the themes. We did family and relationships, and we also did religion, peace and conflict, and then we did Judaism. The 2 themes I really liked. I really enjoyed learning those because they were a little bit more current. They weren't all like religious based, if that makes sense. Like, obviously you had to link religion into it, but it kind of wasn't purely that. Like, you could have an opinion with it, and also you could relate it to society, which I much preferred. Judaism was really interesting to learn. I really enjoyed learning it. It's quite interesting learning about a different faith. And then the paper 1, which was you learn 6 topics, get quizzed on 4, that was alright, but it was a lot harder than we all expected. I don't know whether it was because it was the first exam or what, but I think at our school it'd always been like quite chilled. We'd all go into an RE paper feeling quite confident, quite relaxed about it, you know, as long as you know some quotes you'll be fine. We went in that and they asked some of the weirdest things, like something that's literally like a paragraph in the textbook they made a whole 5 marker out of. But I think because it was the first exam, we were all very stressed about it. Then there was science. So in year 10, we started our GCSE science in year 9. So we did kind of like the stuff that everyone has to know. In 9, we kind of had like such a bad year with science because my class, we'd had 6 teachers. Like, we'd had one that stayed with us the whole time, and then 5 others that just kept changing, and it was so disruptive. We hardly learned anything. So when we went into year 10, it was a bit of like a shock, because we were all a bit like, okay, well, yeah, okay, you know, no one kind of really felt prepared or anything. So then in year 10 I started doing triple science, and it was at that point we got this option of whether or not we wanted to carry it on. And to be honest, I didn't enjoy science at that point. We'd been so mucked around, and also I knew I didn't want to take it further. I was like, I don't want to do it for A levels, so they just said, well, drop to combined, which is what I did. There was quite a few of us who did that from my class, and there were people even in year 11 dropping triple. Happy I did that. My grades improved massively when I went to combined. I also felt it was a little bit of a less competitive class. Like the triple class is so competitive. I always felt really out of place, because there was people who were like putting their hand up all the time, knowing everything. And I was thinking, how do you know this? Like, we haven't even learned it yet. Whereas when you went to combined, if you got something wrong, you didn't feel embarrassed, because it was just that kind of atmosphere. And I did so much better in that class. Also, you know, science was still enjoyable at that point, but it wasn't like so heavily, like so much content. Like with triple, I found it really hard to learn everything, whereas with combined, it's okay, like there's still a lot of stuff to learn. I found it a little bit better. The exams, the first biology paper was quite good, the first chemistry paper was alright, and the first physics paper, really liked that, and then the second biology paper was alright, still prefer the first one. Second chemistry paper was pretty good except for the last page, and the last physics paper, it was okay. It was better than the mock we had done at March, but probably I just hated the contents of that paper, like all the forces and stuff. Okay, I'm going to move on to English. So English has always been one of my favourite subjects. I'd always kind of known that's something I want to take further because I enjoy it enough. So for English Lit, I was on AQA. We did Jekyll and Hyde, Romeo and Juliet, Animal Farm, and then the Love and Relationships cluster. All books that I enjoyed. Jekyll and Hyde was a bit hit and miss, like probably was my favourite. Romeo and Juliet I really enjoyed. Obviously it's Shakespeare. No one really understands Shakespeare, except Shakespeare obviously, but no, it was fine. Also, it's quite a well-known play. You got to watch the film. It's good. Animal Farm I really enjoyed. It was one of those books which had very little techniques in it. Like trying to find a metaphor or a simile was a struggle, but I guess it wasn't designed for that. Poems I absolutely loved. Like poetry was my favourite thing. So English Lit, really enjoyed that. English language I wasn't, you know, really a big fan of, but I always seemed to do very well. I was very happy with it. I mean, I'm not a creative writing kind of person, so on that paper 1, I just didn't know. I've never really come out with like an amazing story. Much preferred paper 2 because I feel like you've got a bit more freedom with that paper, and the exams for both went alright. I think out of the 4, the worst one was probably English Lit 1, because the things that they asked you from Jekyll and Hyde and Romeo and Juliet were just weird. It was like obscure. The extracts were quite poor. They could have been a little bit longer for Romeo and Juliet, but we got on with it. We did it. Paper 2 for English was pretty good. So that was the Lit exams. English language, they were alright. I mean, the surfboard's a bit weird, but other than that it was cool. I mean, it is compulsory, you have to take English, and I'm taking literature next year. And the final subject is obviously maths. So my maths class hadn't changed in 3 years. We had the same seating plan, same teachers. I had amazing teachers. We had 2 fantastic teachers, always very supportive, very helpful. Maths was kind of like a subject that I enjoyed to an extent. Like there were topics in there that I did not enjoy, but I never went in and was like, I don't want to be here, or I don't like maths. I was never like that. I was tempted to take it for A level at one point, but I always found like exams, I think I just panicked in the exams because I wanted to do well, and then I'd see a question, not have a clue, and I'd just freak out. First paper, did not like that at all. Everyone came out and they were like, yeah, that was so good, that was so good, and there's me like, ha, didn't feel that, but I think it was because of the first one, I was a bit stressed. Then the second paper, pretty good, and then paper 3, pretty good as well. Paper 3 always seems to be my best paper, so I don't know if it will tell me that on the results sheet or not, but I'm hoping that it is again. And yeah, I'm just hoping the grade boundaries for maths are a little bit lower than last year. Yeah, I mean, maths, it was alright. Yeah, that's my GCSE experience. I'm not really sure what this video was, but people just said they wanted me to talk about each subject and the exams. Obviously with core subjects, I can't say too much because you have to take them, but overall I had a fairly good experience. I mean, workload was quite a lot, but we will see on results day if the work paid off or not. And if you would like an advice for year 10s and 11s video, then let me know. But if you did enjoy this video, leave it a thumbs up, and if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you have any other questions about any of the subjects, so for example if you're in year 9 or whatever, picking your options, if you're in year 10 just about to start your GCSEs and you've got questions, please leave them below. I reply to every comment, and I love it when you guys ask me questions because I get to share my opinion. If you have anything that you want to say, like leave a comment about how you found some of the exams, how your experience might have been different to mine, feel free to leave that down below. Let's have a discussion, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! If you wanna go and stick around with me, but